Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Charge, Zapmap's regular look into all things EV charging, data and insights. So looking back to last year, we were thinking all about the ZEV mandate and the consultation on that. And that all went through, albeit with a few additional flexibilities that maybe we didn't like. But here we are. It actually has been a great year. 470,000 BEVs sold, providing us with just over 23% market share, which, once taking into account the flexibilities, means that broadly the UK has hit that 28% ZEV mandate and really up from the last year. Partly, I think there's been an impact of the electric car grant, which has been a positive demand side. And there's also been some other good policy areas, a little bit more under the radar, but on the planning side, particularly for charging, and that £25 million for sort of looking at local authorities through pavement charging. So, a lot of good things are happening. Say a little bit of a curveball at the end of last year with the 3 pence per mile coming out in 2028. We know we as EV drivers know we've got to contribute to road costs, but maybe a little bit not great in terms of timing and messaging. But there we go. But how about in terms of the stats, our charging installation stats for last year? How did they go?
Yeah, so in terms of the charging installation stats, there are over 87,000 charge points on Zapmap, and that's across on-street, en route and destination charging use cases, and that's a 19% growth on last year.
So bit down compared to 2024.
Yep, so down compared to the 2024 growth rate. We have got the press release that we put out on this, and that's in the show notes, linked to that, so for all the further details. Okay,
great. And we've been asked a little bit about what is the reason that we haven't had such a bumper year as 2024. And I think, the key message is the charging infrastructure is still going in at pace, but there has been a few areas. So number one probably is the LEVI, the Local Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Fund, has rolled out a little bit slower than we would have predicted this time last year.
Yeah, we were expecting maybe tens of thousands of chargers to have gone in as a result of that. And obviously that on-street group, is a big chunk of all the charging provision there is.
Yeah, and I think the other side is when we talk to charge point operators, the issue of the grid and getting access to the grid connections they want at the right price in a timely manner continues to be a little bit of a brake on that pace of rollout, and maybe still a little bit of market uncertainty in terms of confidence to be able to invest ahead of that demand.
Yeah.
So in terms of the en route category of charging within the whole, how has that been performing?
Yeah, so the vast majority of the charge points that are in the en route category are the rapid and ultra rapid charge points, and they've gone up by over 40% in the course of the last year. So really significant growth in that area.
And where's we seen the biggest growth in terms of operators?
Yeah, so sort of topping the growth charts is Ionity, actually. They've started from a lower base, but they've got up to over 400 charge points now by the end of the year, and that's an over 100% growth for them. So really great to see that kind of significant growth from that provider. But then if you look at the list behind me, these are the top charge point operators in terms of the numbers of en route charge points that they have. And between all of them, they've added another 900 charge points to that en route provision over the course of the last year.
Yeah, that's great. And also I think it's important to note that is the net new number we're reporting. We're also seeing a lot of movement where those old 50 kilowatt chargers have now been upgraded to 150, or quite often now 300 kilowatts. I mean, that is a big proportion of those top end chargers now.
Yeah, so now about a third of all the chargers that are 150 kilowatts plus are 300 kilowatts plus. So there's definitely a shift upwards in that whole segment.
Yeah, great. And although we know that a lot of EVs cannot take that power, it is future proofing. And on the topic of EV drivers, how is this great increase in provision? Is that what EV drivers are wanting?
Yeah, from what we've seen in the survey, undoubtedly is. So hubs and motorway services are the top places for EV drivers to stop and charge. And then when you ask them if they're making a decision about where to choose to charge en route, then the top reasons that they give are having multiple chargers in a hub location, it being directly on their route, and there being 150 kilowatt plus provision at that location.
Brilliant. So it looks like charge point operators are delivering what those drivers need.
Absolutely.
So we've looked at the en route charging to support the longer journeys, but equally important is the day-to-day charging for those people who don't have a driveway and can't charge at home. So what are we seeing in the survey on those category of people?
Yeah, so in the survey on those, we can see that it is edging up slightly to over 20% of people responding saying that they don't have a driveway, they can't charge at home.
Yeah, and we know that sort of anecdotally and from the survey that ideally those drivers would like a near home charge experience as possible. So what are they saying in terms of ideally what they'd have?
Yeah, so there's a good split across the different types of solutions that are out there, as you can see on the chart. But undoubtedly, having a charger on street is really in demand, and that is what a lot of the people who don't have a driveway would like.
Yeah, great. And so has there been a decent growth in that area?
Yeah, so although, as we mentioned earlier, the Levi Fund has not fed through to installations in the levels we thought it would have done yet, we've still seen 30% increase in this on-street charging provision over the course of the last year.
And which are the key operators pushing this forward?
Yeah, so the people that have made a massive difference in this area over the course of the last year are Connected Curb, Ubertricity and Chargy. And each of those has seen over that 30% growth. And they started from quite a high base, so 15,000 at the end of last year, and they've pushed that up to over 20,000. So yeah, good progress on that actually, despite the other conditions, but we would really expect to see that shift on a gear in the next year.
Last year we spent quite a lot of time thinking about destination charging alongside the BVRLA campaign Bonvoy Charge. And in our survey, when we're looking at the charging profiles, actually the biggest segment was those EV drivers who charge infrequently. So not just less than once a month, but actually infrequently. So we took that to mean those drivers who are maybe going on a day out or who are going on a longer journey just once a year on holiday to an infrequent place.
Yeah, and it does cover a lot, that whole category of destination charging. So you've got everything there from them staying at a hotel and wanting to charge there overnight, through to actually maybe using a supermarket charging because they're at a new location. So it does cover a lot. But within that category, we've definitely seen growth in different areas. And one of them, which actually topped the growth out of all our location categories, was in accommodation. So 36% more charge points in accommodation this year than last year.
Well, that's really good to see, because those infrequent travellers, they definitely want to be able to charge when they get to their location. And to me, charging at hotels is really table stakes for hotels now. Yeah. So let's see what happens in that category.
Yeah. And what we were also able to do with the survey this year was look at the best EV charging networks from a destination and on-street perspective. So Raw Charging came out on top for the destination side of that, and Connected Curb on the on-street. So they came out and both got the best EV charging network awards, and we have got a press release on that which is also available in the show notes. One
of the hot topics within EV charging is the cost of public charging, and I think that's an interesting one because we track the cost of public charging across all the different types of charging, and you can see there on our price index that actually it's been pretty stable across the whole of 2025 and it was in 2024. Yeah. However, that's not to say that it's not an issue. What's the EV survey showing us? Yeah, so it's been quite interesting in the survey this year. Historically, when we've asked people why have you chosen to have an electric car, the number one reason has been about protecting the environment, and the second reason has been about reducing running costs. This year they've flipped. So reducing running costs has come out as the number one reason that people have chosen to have an EV. Yeah, I guess that's more evidence that we're moving from those early adopters into the mass market. And on this whole topic of cost, there has been a number of really good reports over the last 12 months. Firstly, Electric Vehicles UK looked at the whole cost of driving electric, and they came out that in 80% of all the scenarios it was cost effective, something to really good report to look into. Yeah, and that really chimes with the survey as well, our survey, because we also asked around whether EV drivers felt that it was more cost effective currently for them to run their EV. 74% were saying yes. Yeah, great. And then on the other side, on the charge point operator side, the cost side, Charge UK did a real deep dive into the charge point operator costs, looked at wholesale costs, looked at all the operational costs, the standing charges, and really broke down where those costs were coming from.
Yeah, why they're having to charge the pence per kilowatt hour they are, essentially. So that's a brilliant report, and both of those can be linked in the show notes, and really recommend a read.
And I think the good thing is that the government is taking this on board, and they're looking into this public charging costs, and they're going to be reporting on that in Q3 2026. So we're going to be following that with interest. I think, especially in the light of the 3 pence per mile EVED coming in 2028, which, if we don't do some changes on the public charging costs, that's only going to exacerbate this differential between costs of owning an electric car, whether you've got a driveway, if you haven't. So, that's a really important area.
Coming up, well, obviously the 3 pence per mile consultation on the implementation, which will be really important. And then the other thing that's really imminent at the moment is the charge point operators reporting on their reliability according to the PCPR regulations. It's certainly not straightforward on that reporting side. So I know it's been taking up a lot of focus from charge point operators in order to be able to do that. And it'd be really interesting to see what that looks like and how the industry responds. More
generally, at Zapmap, we're going to be out and about, both working with partners. We've got an event with EVA England, Energy Saving Trust and others.
We're going to be out and about at lots of events, including EV Charging UK and the SMMT Electrified event.
Oh yeah, looking forward to that one. So that's the end for us today. As ever, if you need any more data or insights on charging stats, please do get in touch. insights@zapmap.com.